In today's America, we've got all kinds of problems. We've got inflation. We've got a wide open southern border. We've got fentanyl. We've got food processing plants that are burning down. We've got issues on issues on issues on issues. We got problems as far as the eye can see. But now we have a new one. And did you know this one could be very detrimental to the American people? Did you know that you might not be able to get a haircut depending on your politics? My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. As I traveled the highways and byways of the super information highway that we call the internet, I came across something on Twitter that absolutely blew my mind. Now, in order to set this up, I have to reintroduce you to someone. You have probably heard the name Brandon Straka. If you haven't, well, give me 1 second and I'll give you either a refresher course about this gentleman or I'm going to give you an introduction for the very first time. This comes directly from Brandon Straka's own website. Brandon Straka, the founder of the Walkaway campaign, is a former liberal and former Democratic Party supporter who has very publicly walked away from the political left and created a social movement encouraging others to do the same. Now, a little bit more about the movement that he founded. From the Walkaway Foundation's website, the Walkaway Foundation is dedicated to bringing Americans together through education to walk away from intolerance and societal discord, to leave identity politics behind, and to walk toward unity, civility, respect, and the American ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. The walkaway movement provides education to the masses. For too long, our history has been written through a biased lens. The Walkaway Foundation provides fact based education through media, live events, and speaking engagements, and college campus tours. Now, there may be those of you who are saying, yeah, but isn't Brandon Strachan known for something else? Yes, you're right. He was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, and he was arrested and he pled guilty to a Class B misdemeanor for disorderly conduct. That's right. That was 2.5 years ago. That's behind him. Now, I set all that up to show you what happens next, and this is going to blow your mind. Recently, Brandon posted a 9-minute video on his Twitter page. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I am going to set it up so you understand the section of it that I am going to play by basically giving you the background. Here's what he talked about. Now, as the leader of the walkaway movement, he does a lot of traveling all around the country. And as you might expect of any person in the public eye, he tries to keep his appearances up. That's a perfectly normal thing for human beings to do. To that end, he has been going to the same salon in Omaha, Nebraska for years. It's a place called Garbo's. He's had the same stylist for years. And in an effort to receive the best service possible, as you might expect, he tries to tip as well. He tries to buy product, basically be supportive of the business that takes care of him. Now, as I said, he's had the same stylist for years. But on those occasions when that individual is not available, Garbos will try to find someone who is able to cut his hair. There's a gentleman, we'll call him the substitute stylist. Well, in his most recent visit to Garbos, his stylist wasn't available. Brandon had to see the substitute. And as you might expect in one of these situations, they struck up a conversation. And the stylist says, well, what do you do for a living? And Brandon told him about the walkaway movement and his political beliefs, etc. In a free country, this gentleman does what you would expect him to do. Well, I don't agree with you on that. The exchange, according to Brandon in the video, is otherwise pleasant. However, in the course of that conversation, it came up that Brandon had pled guilty to a Class B misdemeanor for the things that happened in Washington, D.C. The gist of what happened was when the stylist found this out, he was kind of like, oh, so you're the guy. Well, we had heard that somebody here in Omaha had pled guilty to being there. I guess it's you. That's about as far as it went. The conversation was still pleasant. Nobody got ugly. They finished everything. Brandon did what he otherwise would normally do. He tipped the guy very well. He leaves, thinks everything is okay. Now, That sets up what you're about to hear next. Listen to this.
Until yesterday when I called Garbo's Midtown to try to book an appointment with my stylist because I'm leaving town in a couple of days for an event and I wanted to get my hair cut. They told me that she had three openings available and I asked if I could take the later of the three. When the receptionist was trying to book my appointment into the system, she said to me, "That's odd, it won't let me book your haircut." And almost immediately, I felt like I knew exactly what was going on. She put me on hold for a few minutes and then she got back and she said, "I'm sorry, Brandon, you are not allowed to book an appointment with Garbo's at any Garbo's location for the rest of your life." She said, "Your account is permanently restricted." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "I don't know. I don't have that information." And I said, "Well, I'm going to need to talk to your manager."
Now, ain't that a gas? The rest of the video talks about Brandon's efforts to at least try to get an explanation from someone as to why this has happened to him. And as you might expect, he got nothing. He emailed, he called, no response. Years of association with a particular business have now been abruptly ended without even so much as a why. Now, Brandon's got a suspicion. He's of the idea that he's being blackballed by this business simply because of what happened at January 6th and whatever perceptions that they may have of what happened. Now, I'm not here to defend Brandon Straka. He's a big boy. He can take care of himself. Now, don't get me wrong. I think what's being done to the guy is absolutely wrong. He is being blackballed by this business. But I do want to touch on one thing that he mentions in the video, and that is the idea of a social credit score, which is what he references. Now, if you've heard that term, but you're not real familiar with it, let me show you an article. It was written a couple of years ago, but I still think it's still relevant to the discussion and gives a good explanation about what a social credit system is. This is written by a young lady named Kristen Tate. She is with an organization called Young Americans for Freedom. I'll read a couple of paragraphs just to give you an idea of what a social credit score system is. This is from the first paragraph. The new domestic war on terror, kicked off by the riot on January 6th, has prompted several web giants to unveil predecessors to what could effectively become a soft social credit system by the end of this decade. Relying on an indirect hand from DC, our social betters in corporate America will attempt to force the most profound changes our society has seen during the internet era. She continues. China's social credit system, and yes, this idea comes out of China. They've been implementing this, well, for about the past 7 or 8 years, is a combination of government and business surveillance that gives citizens a score that can restrict their ability to take actions such as purchasing plane tickets, acquiring property, or taking loans because of behaviors. Now, you'll notice I didn't say because of provable crimes. I didn't say because of actions comparable to crimes. I just said behaviors. But I continue. Given the position of several major American companies, a similar system may be coming here sooner than you think. Now, in the article, she cites certain examples. For instance, PayPal was involved in a combined effort with the Southern Poverty Law Center to put information out about white extremists, in their opinion. So this idea is being kicked around with certain seriousness. The idea that on the basis of what you believe and what behaviors you might engage in based on those beliefs, that companies will have the right to restrict business with you. They won't do business with you simply because of what you believe, not because of crimes, not because of actions that otherwise in another time would have been considered heinous enough that you should be shunned. No, just because of what you believe, businesses may start not doing anything with you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a truly frightening proposition. Now, as you might expect, I've got some thoughts about this idea of a social credit score system because Lord knows I'm never not without an opinion. I've got a question for those people that are kicking this idea around and would like to see this implemented. How is this even close to being what we want to become as a tolerant society? See, in the traditions that I grew up in, two people may not see eye to eye on something, but they are at least willing to put aside their differences and try to live peacefully in society. I'm sure that there have been business owners down through the years who have had people walk through their doors and they know their politics, but they're willing to put it aside because that person, even though the business owner may not agree with them, they're at least willing to say, okay, I don't agree with you, but you haven't broken any laws. You haven't destroyed my property. You haven't harmed my business. Your cash is as good as anyone else's. I'll do business with you. Not anymore, which goes to something else. There's been a term that's been thrown around now for quite some time, the idea of a hive mind. In other words, everybody's got to act the same, think the same, believe the same, do the same, be the same. And if you are not in conformity with the hive mind, oh no, you cannot be tolerated. We can't have you doing that. This is just going to reinforce that idea. This is going to be used as a measure to try to bring about the hive mind. Hey, if you're not in conformity, if you're not with us on every cotton picking little issue, we're going to cut you off. You won't be able to buy plane tickets, as an example. You won't be able to engage in commerce in this area or that area. No, we're going to make sure you conform to the hive mind, and this is how we're going to do it. Your social credit score is going to determine how much you're able to do in this country. This is a frightening proposition, ladies and gentlemen. This is not what any free society should ever want to do. At some point, even though we may disagree with each other, we have got to find a way to learn how to live together. We've been able to do that for hundreds of years in this country. There have been disagreements that have been extreme and profound, and some of them at times had no other resolution than we had to take things beyond a conversation. I pray God that doesn't happen anymore in the United States. But this idea of a social credit score system cannot be allowed to take hold in this country. If it does, we're going to hurt people. We're going to hurt the young. We're going to hurt people that are just trying to get started in life. We're going to hurt people who are older. We're going to pit one group of Americans against another. This cannot be allowed to stand. You know, some people might sit around and say, I don't see why you're bringing up this whole idea about Brandon Straka. He's just one person. Yeah. And remember what happened a long time ago. They came for the communist. I didn't say anything. I wasn't a communist. They came for the socialist. I didn't say anything. I wasn't a socialist. And on down through the line it goes. And then, as the old pastor in Germany said, then they came for me, and there was nobody left to say anything. I say this about the Brandon Straka situation because, frankly, if it can happen to him, it can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. So we've got to find a voice on this one. And anytime this idea is getting kicked around, this thing needs to get nipped in the bud real fast. But what do you think? As we begin to wrap this up, I would like to ask some small favors of you. Number one, if you are not a subscriber to this channel, please do so. This channel is a going little concern. We'd like to see it become a going big concern, but we can't do that unless we've got your support. Number two, if you like this video, if you like the content, whatever, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. You would be amazed what hitting that little old button will do to help out a new content creator. And number three, if you have friends of yours that you think would enjoy this type of content, please feel free to share this video around. We are a one-man band, and hi, I'm the band, so any help that you can give would be greatly appreciated. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.